This is the 2017 Chevrolet Camaro SS. All new from the ground up, lighter, smaller, smarter and faster. 6.2 liters, 455 horsepower and 455 foot-pounds of earth-shaking torque. 4.1 seconds to 100 and a top speed of 266. This one's very special. It's the 50th anniversary edition, which only comes in seductive Nightfall Gray metallic, mesh grille and nifty 50 badging all over the car. This Camaro is one cool cat, man. But if you want to get the straight dope on what's really cool, we got to make tracks back to the decade that fashion forgot. That's right, we're going back to the 70s, baby. Can you dig it, man? You know, the 60s was one long counterculture party, and the 70s, I guess, was kind of the morning after. You know, the hangover. At the close of the 60s, the future had never seemed brighter. The Beatles were ruling music, man had landed on the moon, and the muscle car had never been faster, cooler, or hipper. But then, it all fizzled out. America gave up on going to the moon. Hippies went from earnest youth to jaded adults. Vietnam dragged on forever. The oil crisis of '73 had everybody in a panic that cheap gas was done, dude. And Watergate created an entire subculture of paranoid conspiracy theorists. Hold up though. That was the early 70s. By the mid-70s, things were looking up, daddy-o. Feminism reached fever pitch as women fought for their rights. Modern computing basically began in the 1970s with the invention of fiber optics, microwave ovens, VCRs, even email, all got their start in the 70s. This was also the golden age of rock and roll. AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Pink Floyd, Aerosmith, Kiss, and Queen. And then the first ever rap song in 1978 with Rapper's Delight. And how can we forget? This was the decade that produced some of the greatest films of all time. The epic drama, The Godfather, the perfect comedy, Annie Hall, the slasher movie, Halloween. And 75, Spielberg's Jaws created the modern blockbuster, which was then perfected by his college buddy George Lucas 2 years later with Star Wars, creating the template for the big summer feel-good action movie. I mean, where do you think your comic book movies came from, kids? For my money, my favorite film in the 1970s is still Saturday Night Fever, hence my disco threads. It had it all, an ice cool star, drama, and killer dance moves. Much like this baby here, the second generation Chevrolet Camaro. The second gen Camaro appeared 7 years before Travolta put on his leisure suit in February 1970 and stayed in production for nearly 12 years. Based on the Nova platform like its predecessor, it was actually nicknamed
the Super Hugger.
The admin called it a whole new kind of car for a whole new kind of people
who really dig driving.
They were right. Out went the 60s blunt nose, and in its place a gorgeous fastback body, more Italy than Detroit, bigger, easier to get into with wider doors and more comfortable with improved suspension. The Camaro of the 70s was really more grand tourer than backroad stomping sports car. Interestingly, this was the only Camaro never to be sold as a convertible. Rally Sport Camaros featured a unique split front bumper and center grille. Super Sport cars, or SS to you and me, had tougher suspension. At launch, there were 6 engines and 4 transmissions, ranging from 155 horsepower to the mighty 396 with 350 horsepower. Top dog was the Z28 with 360 horsepower in 1970. From the new LT1 motor, capable of doing 0 to 100 in a mere 5.8 seconds and the quarter mile in just 14.2 in 1970. And for the first time, you could get it with an auto. Did you know that Saturday Night Fever actually had a sequel? It was called Staying Alive, and disco was dead by the time it came out. Sadly, the same can be said for the muscle car in 1970. The days of the big, tire-smoking V8 were numbered as insurance rates went up and power figures went down. How much down? Well, the Camaro started the decade with 360 horsepower, but by the end of it, it was just making 190, thanks to really strict EPA regulations. And the less said about the looks, the better. Let's not dwell on those sad, bad final years. This 1974 car belongs to UAE collector Khalid Bin Hadher. It is the best looking Camaro of the bunch. Under the hood, it's packing the tried and tested 350 motor with a 4-speed automatic for maximum cruising cool. You know, this is more than 40 years old, but it still feels pretty rapid, even by modern standards. But like my frankly awesome threads, these Camaros really aren't about raw performance. They're about feeling the vibe, man. You know, I just feel dynamite sitting in this amazing bucket seat and staring down these hooded dials that make me feel like I'm in a fighter jet. And you know what? If I needed to cruise down to the disco afterwards, this was the car to impress those fly ladies. And if you need to school some fools afterwards at the drag strip, well, this Camaro with this motor still has the grunt to get the job done. Where did I put those 8-track tapes? Oh man, I was just getting used to platforms. Okay, maybe I'm too young to know what the 70s is really like, but by all accounts, it was one heck of a decade, and it produced one heck of a Camaro. Sure, it wasn't as fast as it used to be, but it did something much more important. It created the legend of the bitchin Camaro, and that spirit survives all the way through to this brand new car. Hold on to your shoulder pads though. The Camaro is about to make one heck of a comeback. That's right, the 80s are up next. This is like my worst nightmare. Can you see my face at all, or just pretend? Hold on, pants falling down. Okay, I gotta like remember some of this stuff now. So maybe more vaguely 70s. Wanna do it again? Should be looking at the camera, shouldn't I? For my money, my favorite part, getting into my car and going home feels natural to me at this point. But then, it all fizzled out. America. Yeah.